Today's video is going to be a question and answer, just a couple random questions that I received on Instagram. So the first question was, what is your family's favorite food? So I can't necessarily say that we all agree on our favorite food, but some of our favorite restaurants are in Estes Park. We always go to this Mexican restaurant on Friday nights, and Brian and I always get fajitas. Braxton always gets a shredded beef taco, and Kellen always steals Dad's fajita steak. Never Mom's, because, Mom's food's just not as good, but always Dad's. So that's one thing. And then the other restaurant that we all love as a family is Red Robin. So no exciting answer there for you, but those are two of our favorites that everyone in our family has something that we really enjoy. Next question, do we ship internationally? So I assume, obviously, you mean our businesses, Shaw Strength, Evolution Athletics, and Undefined Nutrition. So Shaw Strength and Evolution Athletics, 100%, we ship internationally. Everything ships from our house. Literally, well, I shouldn't say our house, from our outbuilding. That is where our house is. And that has been a conscious decision. Brian and I are control freaks. But in all honesty, we like to be represented how we feel we should be represented. So we love talking with our customers. And if someone writes in a note and they're like, hey, thanks so much for this, we like to write a note back and say, thank you so much for supporting us. Or Brian, can you sign this? Or, even our staff, we have a couple staff members, people will get to know them and say, can they sign it? So everything ships from our house internationally, yes. And then Undefined Nutrition, we can attempt to ship that internationally. There are a lot of laws in place, not necessarily for us within our country, but internationally. For example, the UK only allows certain types of products to pass their borders. So for that reason, we can attempt to ship some things, but other things we just know that we cannot get into your country. Not really that anything's wrong with it. It's a law that is put in place by another country. Okay, another person asked me, what do I feel is one of the toughest challenges in my life? And I think, well, first of all, I think any parent would agree that they kind of wish there was a manual to tell them this is what you should be doing and this is the right way to do things. And then your kids are magically going to turn out perfect and wonderful people of society and happy and all that. So I would definitely say that being a parent as a whole is a challenge. But for me personally, I think one of my biggest challenges is just balancing everything. So balancing act between being the best parent I can be, being the best wife I can be, being the best business owner I can be, all of that combined. And another question, I'll kind of roll this all together, is someone said like tips or tricks for balancing everything. And I don't really have tips or tricks because I struggle with it daily. But what I will say is you really need to figure out what works for you individually as your personality and your characteristics, kind of make work for you. The reason I say that is I am a multitasker nonstop all the time, no matter what I'm doing. So I can literally have in one ear an earphone and I'm on a phone call. The other ear, I'm listening to Paw Patrol or Flintstones with the kids. My hands are busy. I'm making a meal or I'm typing an email or, whatever it may be. So I'm doing a lot of things at once. And that's just what works for me to feel like I'm getting everything done that I need to do. A drawback is possibly that I'm not doing everything 100%. On the other hand, Brian is very much a compartmentalizer. Is that a word? I just made that up. It's like he is working, he is training, he is a dad, he is a husband, and husband and dad, I think he does pretty well together, but he focuses on one task at a time, and then that task is now done, or it's done for today, and he moves on to his next task. So I would say my tip is maybe play around with it. What works for you and your personality and how you like to work. Again, I just like to multitask. My head can go in a million different directions. But even when I'm communicating with Brian and I'm like, hey, do this, this, this. Oh, did you do this? Can you do that? He's like, whoa, I'm still on number one. And he does number one really, really well before he can move on to number two. So find what works for you and, do that the best you can. Okay, another question I received is, what do I eat in a day? And also, do I drink a lot of water? So that was like a two-part question. I have done some old videos, and now they're probably years old, on, I think it was a day of eating. And to be completely honest, my eating's not a whole lot different since then. But just generally speaking, I try to eat a lot of whole foods in the sense that not much comes from a package other than a protein shake, or I also eat oatmeal sometimes. So I guess technically the oatmeal comes from a package, and not the kind that has like all the sugar and cinnamon or anything like that, just like plain oatmeal. But I always like to think about, if you have a food that can like sit on your shelf for a year or 2 years and it does not go bad, what is happening in your stomach with that? So as much as you can eat like fresh food, vegetables, fruits, proteins in this as they are like intended to be, not like meat that sits on a shelf that doesn't need to be refrigerated or something like that, or something that can. Try your best to stay away from most of that stuff. Obviously, anything processed, you want to stay away from as much as possible. And secondly, water. I try my best to drink a ton of water. In a whole day, the only things I do drink are water, maybe a cup or two of black coffee, maybe pre-workout, probably a protein shake, and then every now and then like a sparkling water. I think they're called sparkling waters, like a bubbly. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's really about all that I drink. No juices, soda. I might have a diet soda, maybe a can's worth every other week or every third week, because I do love it, but I don't think it's the best for you. So again, just like really basic stuff, and I know that sounds super boring, is probably the answer that no one wants to hear, myself included, because I would rather have some pizza and some donuts and stuff like that. But just whole, unprocessed food, and yes, the more water you can drink, just plain old water, the better. And with all that said, I usually choose like one meal a week to treat myself. So maybe it's Friday night dinners, maybe it's ice cream or whatever it may be, or like a date night. But that is kind of what I eat. If you're interested, maybe I can do an updated day of eating. So I guess let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. All right, our final question is, someone asked about, are the kids more similar to Brian or myself? So I think everyone would agree that Braxton, our older son, looks wise is Brian's twin. And if you could see pictures and videos of Brian when he was Braxton's age, which is 6 right now, I even am like, wait, was that Brian? Was that Braxton? They look so much alike. Kellen still looks a lot like Brian, but I think some people, maybe they're just being nice to me, say he looks a little bit like me. The funny thing is their personalities are the opposite. Braxton is much more emotional and takes things to heart and really, really, really worries about what other people think about him and is he making other people happy? And that is 100% my personality. Kellen, who maybe looks a little bit more like me, acts more like Brian in the sense that he's very confident in who he is as a person, and he just is himself. He's kind of himself unapologetically. But with that said, Kellen will melt your heart. He has these blue eyes and he will look at you and he'll say, "Mommy, can we cuddle?" And it just ripped your heart out. So, and that's exactly Brian. Like, he appears to be like this tough, manly, strong man, which he is, but Brian has a heart of gold. He will do anything for the people he loves, and that is Kellen. So it's kind of funny. They look, Braxton like Brian, Kellen a little bit more like me, but their personalities and the way they act are the opposite. So just kind of fun, and love them both to pieces. But it's so funny how two little boys can come from the same parents in the same household and be so completely different. So that is our question and answer. Thank you guys so much for the questions. I hope you find something to smile about, and we will see you next time.